Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel where stories of love, heartbreak, and resilience come to life. Today, we return to the gripping saga of CEO James and his indomitable wife, Deep. A tale that now spirals into a war where shadows rise, past enemies re-emerge, and love must become armor. It all began after a devastating flood swept through a rural village. James and Deep, instead of merely observing, took action. Using part of the company's profits and mobilizing volunteers, they delivered vital aid, food, medicine, warm blankets, to those most affected. The image of James distributing food in the mud and Deep lifting a shivering child from the floodwaters painted a portrait of privilege wrapped in humility. But compassion would soon give way to conflict. One quiet night, as Deep put their child to sleep and James buried himself in work, a call shattered the calm. His assistant's voice shook with dread. "Sir? John is out. Someone powerful got him released." "He's been seen near your villa." John, the disgraced former associate who once orchestrated a scheme to destroy James through money laundering, was back. Years ago, James exposed him and sent him to prison. But this time, John had backing. A dark, wealthy power had pulled strings to set him free. And John didn't want money. He wanted revenge. He didn't attack the company head-on. He targeted James's heart, Deep, and their child. The campaign began subtly. Anonymous threats, dark figures lurking outside, security systems dismantled. Then it turned deadly. The brakes on Deep's car were sabotaged. The message was clear: they were being hunted. James acted fast. No longer just a CEO, he became a husband on a mission. He assembled a private security team and quietly moved Deep and their son to a secure countryside refuge. The war had begun, but the question lingered: was love strong enough to outlast the storm? As James juggled protecting his family, nature dealt a second blow. The recent floods hadn't just wrecked homes, they crippled his company. Hundreds of hectares of timberland, the corporation's backbone, were submerged. Supply chains collapsed. Factories lost roofs. Warehouses were ruined. Still reeling from this disaster, James received news that cut even deeper. His most trusted raw material supplier, an ally for years, had betrayed him. Secretly aligned with John, they doubled prices and imposed punishing contract terms. It was a calculated move to throttle James's business from within, but John miscalculated. James wasn't just a boardroom executive. He had built this empire with his own hands. Without hesitation, he called an emergency meeting, activated dormant supplier networks, and personally flew to negotiate new terms. By dawn, he had sealed a better deal, one that not only rescued his company but stole back market share from his traitorous supplier. John's first major move had failed, but the threat wasn't over. John's second strike was personal. Deep began to feel watched. A mysterious black car stalked her movements. Cameras were disabled. Bodyguards sensed a shadow tracking her every step. James knew what had to be done, even if it broke him. He made the heartbreaking decision to separate Deep from their son, moving them to a secluded villa owned by an honorable couple with ties to James' past. Though once feared for their connections, this couple owed James a great debt. They offered sanctuary with one solemn vow: no harm will come to this woman under our roof. Tears streamed down Deep's face as James held her hands. "I'm not afraid," she whispered, "as long as you and our son are safe." He embraced her, voice choked with emotion. "I need you alive. I need you safe." The next morning, there were no tearful goodbyes, just the cold silence of necessity. James hugged his son and whispered, "Be a good boy. Daddy will come get you soon." The boy asked innocently, "Where's Mommy? Aren't you coming?" James could only smile through the pain. With his family safely hidden, James steeled himself for what was next. In her temporary haven, Deep adapted with grace. Gone were the chandeliers and parties. Now, she rose at dawn to help the elderly couple garden, cook, and feed chickens. Her humility touched even the once stoic man who now handed her fruit with a quiet smile. "I saved the best one for you." At night, James would visit without announcement. No grand entrances, no spotlight, just a gentle invitation. "Come on, let's go for dinner." They'd walk hand in hand along quiet roads as crickets sang in the distance. Deep once whispered, "Thank you for always thinking of me." He didn't reply, he only squeezed her hand, silently promising to protect her with everything he had. But James knew that love alone couldn't guarantee safety. Hiding was a short-term shield. The only way forward was to end the threat at its source. So, he made a move no one expected. He called John. "Let's meet," he said, voice steady. "No third parties, just us, if you still remember what that means." John was stunned. He had expected James to cower, not confront. "Fine," he sneered. "Let's meet. But don't say I didn't warn you if this turns out to be your last." They met in a nearly deserted restaurant. James walked in alone, in a crisp white shirt, eyes cold and focused. John entered smugly with two silent bodyguards. "Didn't think you'd crawl out from behind your wife's skirts," he mocked. James didn't flinch. Name your price. But stop going after my family. John leaned in. I want your life, James. And your company. Give them up, and I might let your wife and son live. Silence. Then James stood. My life? Take it, if you can. My company? I'll rebuild it. But my wife and son? You will never touch them. You want war? I'll give you war. But stay away from the innocent. John's eyes narrowed. Now I see. Deep, she's your weakness. James walked away, wind biting at his sleeves. But in his mind, a storm was brewing, not of fear, but of calculation. John, however, had no intention of retreating. Instead, he dug deeper, this time, reviving an old grudge. He reached out to Mr. Tran Duc Tai, a former business titan and the father of Trang, a woman who once loved James obsessively. After James rejected her, Trang's reputation shattered. Her father never forgave James. Now, John offered Mr. Tai a dark alliance. You want to restore your daughter's honor. I want to ruin James. Let's do it together. Tai hesitated, but hatred swayed him. A handshake sealed their pact. Meanwhile, James wasn't idle. That meeting had been a warning, but also a turning point. He gathered his most loyal aides and laid out a strategic counterattack: enhanced cybersecurity, financial tracking, silent surveillance around deep, media influence campaigns, and, most importantly, a baited financial trap designed to lure John and Mr. Tai into a false sense of victory. They believed they were closing in, but James had already moved 3 steps ahead.